Hey, I'm live. I've not done a live on my Chromebook before. This is a different experience for me. It was a little different setting it up and everything too. I usually live stream about this time every day. I usually do it from my iPad. So if you're seeing this and you didn't get to see normally, it's because maybe there's a block on this or there's a block on my iPad or I don't know. But it's the same account, so I'm not really sure. I don't really know, guys. I don't really know exactly how my stuff is getting seen anymore. I have no idea. But I know I didn't die by today. I know that my hard work has left me not dead between this week. And I passed a kidney stone and things have been going incredibly better since, which is interesting because I have a history of kidney stones. Just give me a minute, guys. I'm just drinking my first bits of water. If you know me, I'm Misty Ann. I am currently an Indigenous woman living in Ontario, Canada. I'm right in the heart of Niagara, and unfortunately, there's no doctors here. So when I tried to go to the emergency room at my local hospital here in St. Catharines for a UTI, I was assaulted by the Niagara Regional Police. And then later in time, my doctor that I was seeing that day took my rights away as a human being, put me in the psych ward. And then I had to suffer through an infection for 4 months until I was healthy enough to drive to Toronto. And then I still didn't really get any help. But I did get it diagnosed with a small renal infection, started taking the antibiotics, and passed a kidney stone the size of Texas. So, fine, but I'm still dealing with some major health problems, like the fact I still need to drink between 4 and 6 liters of water every day. And no one really seems to care about that. And even though, I have an ultrasound now that has like my kidneys are malfunctioning and like everything. It's like no one knows why all this is happening, but like no one cares. It's fine. Whatever. All I need to do with my health is not die. If I can do that, I can live forever. And then I can just fucking fight on what I need. Yeah? Does that make sense? I'm just going to move a little bit because I'm really uncomfortable. I think I have a head injury from March. A barbell fell on my head, 45-pound Olympic barbell. I was doing some cleaning. It was leaning up against the wall. It fell against my head. And I've done a lot of research trying to figure out not that I'm doctor Googling, but there's no doctor and all I have left is Google. So I, for the last 4 months, have been trying to figure out what is wrong with me. And I do believe that if you hit your head and you have an unquenchable thirst, you could have something called diabetes insipidus, which means that your kidneys drain all of the water out of your body and they don't throw it back into your bloodstream, which means you have to put new water in your body the whole time. Okay, fine. I also found that my skin was absorbing water. That was really cool. It's actually doing a cool thing now. If you go to my flow page and you go to my spoilers, you can see all of my stuff. That's just my insurance policy for not dying. And you'll see there's a video there of me like squeezing my skin and all these bubbles coming out of my skin because there's no water, just air. And I was like squeezing my skin, like wringing it into the water, and then water was running in. And then I like throw my glasses don't work. It's fine. They don't fit. I'm poor. We don't have healthcare anymore. I don't think we know that as a community. We don't understand that our healthcare, it doesn't belong to us anymore. Like my government sold my hospital in 2019 and to a private equity firm. And so now we don't even own our own hospital. That's totally fine if you can still go there. Cause like my OHIP card doesn't seem to work anymore. Cause I'm like, can I see a doctor? And they're like, absolutely fucking not. Here is a nurse or here's a resident. And that's almost worse because they're learning. And if they don't know, they need to find somebody, then they just send me home on a Friday from Mount Sinai Hospital in Toronto with nothing. And then I have to come back Monday throwing up projectile vomitingly to speak to a nurse. So, if you're the government of Ontario and you want to explain to me that this is a misunderstanding, please do. You know where to find me, MistyAnnMcMillan@gmail.com on WhatsApp or the email, although I'm not checking it and I will absolutely not answer my phone because I can't remember anything since March. So I have to have it in writing because if I don't see it with my eyeballs and I have to just hear it alone, I will never remember it. I also think there might be some head injury issues from the thing. And I don't know. I just, at this point, I need an MRI to confirm my head and my kidney in one thing so I can get one hormone suppressant that will make my kidneys shut off. But since I can't seem to do that, I'm just going to drink water until there's no water left, and then I will die. And then hopefully by then I'll have done something better with the shit that I have freaking been put through the last year of my life. Just get situated because like I am just so irritated that I am even still here. Because you'd think somebody in charge of something would prefer to have a private conversation with me instead of this, because now I'm in a situation where I am no longer in an emergency, right? And I need to follow up with my family doctor. I don't have one, and there aren't any. There's none. Nobody is accepting new patients right now. So what does a gal do besides Google? And that's how I've lived my life so far. Just Google. I'm a smart girl. I can figure things out. I can realize that if I soak my skin in, okay. I'm very, very not feeling well today. Wake up nauseous every morning. Anytime I feel anything move in my body, I'm nauseous. I only have one little bottle of water here because again I didn't keep it. The lighting is weird. My glasses are dirty, maybe. I don't know anything anymore. All I know is I didn't die by today. I passed a kidney stone and I'm still passing pus. And I know that that's normal because last year the same thing happened to me. Only I had to spend 8 hours at the St. Catherine's Hospital throwing up in the waiting room before anybody even noticed that I was dying. Then they called in the best surgeon that they had and I didn't die that day. And when I was discharged by that urologist, the chief of surgery, Dr. Brown, I haven't spoken to a competent doctor since. And then when I went in for the same thing, I was put in the psych ward and had my rights as a citizen stripped away. So, and then they give you documentation of that. And then when you aren't insane, you get documentation of that. And then when you find out later you have a UTI, there's a documentation of that. But that's for another day because all I need to do is not die. I don't need to fight for my health. But here's the thing. Here's where we are now. Here's where we are now as everybody who's not in government, the rest of us, everybody who's not actually deciding that our tax dollars should go into the automotive industry the second that the Great Depression is about to hit. We're going to have billions of dollars. And nobody can buy a new car right now. Nobody. Everybody is not even driving right now. Okay, so here we go. Oh, water. What is my plan? I was able to have one bag of chips last night, one little teeny tiny little individually baggie. I'm eating now one whole time per day consistently, but my stomach is still calling a no bueno. So it's okay. I have to assume my body is absorbing some kind of nutrient because I'm not dead, and I've lost like 100 pounds at this point, probably since my first surgery. So my whole body looks different. I don't even recognize it. Okay. So what do I do? What do I do? Well, I know that as a mom, because I'm an Indigenous mother with Indigenous children. Because this is what we look like. You never know who we are. That's the fucking thing now. You can't just see an Indigenous person and be like, murder them or don't murder them, because there's extra laws in place to protect them. You really, if you're going to do the murder, don't go for the Indigenous people, because they're going to fuck you up immediately. They have extra laws to protect them, extra laws from the systems that Canada put in place for their citizens. We have extra protections for us if we have to use those systems. So, like, for example, when I go to the emergency room with my daughter and the NRP assaults me in front of everybody, because they were itching to do that since they were left alone in my bedroom with me doing an illegal search an hour previous. There's a law, extra law, to protect me from the policing agencies from doing exactly that. And luckily that happened under video surveillance in the hospital. And yes, I did email the hospital because I was trying to get the ombudsman, and the ombudsman was like, no, we don't even touch the police. Perfect. Fantastic. I'm so glad that nobody can handle the police. Fine. Sure. So they can just pull their gun on whoever they want, whenever they want, because no one even cares about them. And they really shouldn't have guns in the first place, because, like, really it's the clown society. That's like a clown car, and the cops get out and they think they own everything, and they're killing people. Obviously. So whatever, fine. Cops are cops, and I will deal with them later. Okay, so cops, we're going to deal with later, but, like, it is to be noted, I cannot leave my house. I am being harassed. I have everything you need to help me stay safe from my Niagara Regional Police. I have everything you need. I'm waiting for you to come and be like, well, we don't want you dying by the police, because they don't know what they're doing. They probably don't even know I'm Indigenous. So they're just treating me like a regular white lady who they hate because I'm a white lady, and I'm not white, but I look white, some white. If you just assume, if you are somebody who assumes all women are stupid, drunk, or crazy, you only see women. That's how prejudice works. If you see, like, the worst things you think about somebody, it's the fastest way you sort them out. And if all you need to do is be a woman to have somebody hate you, they won't even see your skin color. So it's just like, okay. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, we in Niagara, we don't necessarily have a race problem. We have a gender problem. You know what I mean? Our cops hate women, not Indigenous people. That's a problem all by itself. That just needs retraining, because I don't think anybody has taught the police the new laws that have been put in place in the last 10 years, because they're just career men, right? Like, they're being trained by people who, like, once you're in the service of anything, you generally stay there. That's why you enlist. It's like, fine. Okay, so look, I can't fuck up the police quite yet. However, it's there, right? Because then I'm going to use my reputation, because when they assaulted me, the police badge number, I think it was 8644, but it could be something different. It's on if you go to my flow page and then you go to my spoilers, everything is there. Everything you need to corroborate my story is there. So you can just come and get me and be like, okay, clearly something incredibly ridiculous is happening to this one particular person. For some reason, she can't reach any help. Okay, fine. So the police are going to have their asses handed to them, because they just need to be retrained on the current laws, because clearly no one's training them, and clearly no one's watching them, and clearly that's not working. Okay, perfect. That's that. Cops are going to sit over there until I'm fucking good and ready to deal with them. Because quite frankly, I need to go to the police station, because Family and Children's Services of Niagara told me that they are not allowed to give me the police report that the badge 8644 filed to the police regarding my behavior in the ER. And the police report states I threw myself down kicking and screaming in the emergency room, when everybody watching, including my daughter, who was there for a mental health check, watched me ask for oxygen and faint after originally calling 911 for a carbon monoxide alarm. So, like, that is all documented. What we called for, what we went to the hospital for, and what So then I tried to get my own health looked at because I was denied first aid because they said I was not allowed to have first aid. And then the EMS, when I called carbon monoxide, and then the EMS, they called the cops because they said I'm not allowed to have first aid unless I talk to the cops. Okay. So I'm not allowed to have first aid unless I talk to the cops. Then call them, because I refuse to go on record for saying I'm declining first aid. So if I need to talk to the cops in order for you to give me first aid on the carbon monoxide call my husband called for, then that's what I will have to do. You're euchering me. You're playing chicken with me, and I am braver than you. And because you're over there sitting in uniform with stupid orange goggles on, calling me a crazy bitch in my townhouse row, and everyone, I'm just like, are you? And I'm trying to talk to the lady, and I'm like, you got to get your partner under control, because meanwhile I've been fucking up the internet and everybody is watching, and I think everyone is like, oh my god, like we knew it was bad, but like, oh. Okay, so apparently EMS can do whatever they want, and they do not have to offer first aid, which I know there's something called the Geneva Conventions, and the Geneva Conventions means that everybody should get first aid, even in times of war. And I didn't think I was at war with anybody. I thought I was just a mom. Apparently that's not accurate. I am actually Canada's most wanted lady. She gets no first aid at all. I might as well be hiding in a fucking cave in another country, because like, I don't understand what's happening here, because carbon monoxide, had a good reason for it. And then next thing I know, cops are in here and I'm being separated and everything's a crazy mess. Whatever. Because what happened to me is just what happens to women, and I will have everyone's job. Okay? Because all I needed to do to assure that happened was not die. And I didn't. And I fucking refused to. So what is my actual plan? Well, let me tell you this. Anxiety. I have 2 children. My oldest, my lovely, lovely goalie in the hockey realm, is 15 years old, and my daughter is 13 years old. Not only are they watching the insanity ensue, watching me die, literally, watching the police attack me, watching the police pull their gun on me, watching the police storm my bedroom, watching me throw up everything and not be able to attend a hospital, not being able to be healthy enough to make it out of region to Toronto, leaving Toronto, not having seen a doctor. Like, my children are just like, what is the point of living if there's no reason to live? And I'm just like, no. Okay. In the summer, my son was registered in summer school. Virtual summer school. Virtual. Because it's easier. And I had just done a huge little YouTube video saying, kids, grades don't matter. Try to do your best at school. Whatever. I was answering questions on Quora. They were coming to me in droves. These teenagers are sad. And I'm just like, okay, guys, here's a little video. Don't worry about grades. It's fine. Do summer school. It's easier. Okay. My son tries for the second time to take grade 10 civics. And the first day of civics, the teacher leaks my email address and my child's email address, and every child's email address and every parent's email address by not using a BCC portion of the email. So data breach. And I go to the school and I said, hey, excuse me, this is a fucking problem. I have to sign papers every single year indicating the privacy agreement that I have with the DSBN with my personal information and my child's personal information and what we share and use on your school. And this is a problem because this goes against it. So I've given you my personal information and you've mishandled it. Okay. And then, so they're like, well, let me look into it. And I'm like, I'm waiting. And nothing happens. So I do what I need to do. And I reply all, remove all of the students' emails and add in all of the unions I can think of, plus my Doug Ford, my Wayne Gates, my Jeff Birch, everybody. Like, guys, look at this fucking problem. This is a problem. Fine. Nothing happens. And then all of a sudden I get an email from the DSBN saying, yes, you're right. It does look like there was a data breach, but no third party got your email. And I'm like, what do you mean? First of all, every third party just got my email. And second of all, I just leaked it more so that these fucking parents would know that they have to change their email address because I had just used my email address for all of my online shit. Now, at the same time, the OAPRD, which is what's supposed to be governing any sort of policing in Ontario, decides I don't have a fucking leg to stand on. They refuse to talk to me. And they tell my chief of police that I'm a wingnut. The same day, the teacher leaks all my shit. So great. Now I'm in actual danger. And now I'm actually, because of the reason from before, whatever. Okay, so now the school system has assaulted me as an Indigenous woman with my personal private information that I've provided to the school and not the teacher. Because I didn't give the teacher my information, the school gave the teacher my information, and the teacher mishandled it. Well, that's against the law, and that's a fireable offense. So I email back, and I'm like, you know what? Withdraw my son. He's not handling this. He's getting whatever. And then I get a lippy email back from this asshole teacher saying, oh, I'm so sorry. I cared about, because he's getting emails all the time and I'm getting emails all the time. I'm like, why am I fucking all the emails? Stop it. I'm like, know what? Enough. Take him out. This isn't working for us. And I get this limit. I'm so sorry. I cared so much about your son's success. Okay, well, now I'm pissed off because don't fucking talk to me. My son's already not in your class anymore. You don't have any reason to speak to me. And now because you did, now you've pissed me off. Because now I'm going to have to prove how badly you cared about my son's success. Okay. So I'm calming down and I'm praying shit off because I'm doing both at once, the school board and the police, because I have to prove that they're connected because they both run through the government of Ontario. Okay? Run by Doug Ford, who just threw $1 billion into the car industry. Fine. We elected him. That's fine. But I go through and I ask my son, because I'm combining all of the emails that were sent that day so that I can find them in one place. I asked my son to send me all of the emails that teacher had sent him, and they were all the same. And they said, if you are nothing. The first line of the email is, if you are receiving this email, it is because you have the following outstanding assignments. And every day they get an automated list of what they still have to do and why they're still not good enough. Not once was there an introduction email. Not once did he use my son's name. Not once did he use his name. Not once did he type an email out and compose it. They were all automatically done. And so, okay, so now I'm like, fuck. This teacher has preloaded his curriculum, and I need to tell Doug Ford that he needs to put a stop on the software until he can tell the teachers to at least stop sending these automatic failure emails to our teenagers. That's all they need to do is unclick the automatic send email, because the email is clearly a marketing email. It's clearly, hey, if you're receiving this email, it's because you can get 10% off of our new product. That's what it is. So I understand what happened now, because when COVID first got here, we were in a panic and we needed a software quick enough to make it work at home because everyone was freaking out then. So I'm assuming there were a few companies quickly trying to do something for the teachers to be able to institute at home. And if you're smart, you're going to go after the people who provide things for the school board as a whole. Great. So we know that Doug Ford is a businessman, and we can just assume, because we know
Rob Ford, he was the mayor of Toronto first. And like the world may have forgotten about that, but like, come on, we know the family. Of course, Rob had his issues, and I'm not blaming anybody for them, but we know the kind of the family dynamic. We see it echoed in Trump. Trump, again, Rob Ford, the wingnut, but like you can see the Ivanka, you can see the what, I don't even know what the other. I'm sure there's a Trump Jr. and whatever. I think this little one's Barron, and his mom seems pretty decent, so hopefully he'll be okay. But like at the end of the day, a family is just a family, and values are taught. So you can understand that he was probably trying to make somebody he knew a couple bucks by using something that he thought genuinely was probably fine. So he just bought it and just instituted it. Okay, whatever. It happens. We were all in a hurry then. But what I'm trying to get to his attention is that there's a problem with it, and it's so that's where that started. Okay, so I originally I was just saying, I just need, and I sat in this, and I sat across the table from my stepmom, and I'm like, I feel like I'm Laura Secord because I just have to tell them there's a problem. If I can get to them that there's a problem, they just have to undo that fucking thing. Then the kids won't be abused every day. Because my son takes about 4 days before he will even get out of bed. He won't even get out of bed because he has like 2,000 emails from the DSBN. They send him 2 every fucking day. Plus I get 2 phone calls. Plus I get 3 emails. So, oh my God, the whole situation is out of control because it's all on automatic. But the children aren't automatically learning. They're struggling. So, okay, so there's a problem here with the software. That was what I was trying to say in August. So the software that I'm complaining about is still in use today. Nothing has changed with it, and it is still being done. So you are still getting emails if you're from Ontario. Your children are still getting emails. Check them, because if you're in the elementary school, the teachers are allowed to direct message your children at all hours. Now, as a woman who's Indigenous, I know that there are laws when your teachers are allowed to contact your students. And if they don't really know that, then they're just being allowed to message your daughters after hours, 9 o'clock at night. They're allowed to, they're able to, they have the capacity to be able to do that. I know that because my daughter experienced that same thing, but I can't exactly go screaming about that because I don't have proof of that. All I have proof is of the emails. So my daughter told me that this year they took away her old virtual school class. And they wanted her back in class. Well, she's not healthy enough. My daughter's been prescribed to have school at a therapy place, but there's only 8 spots for all of Niagara, and I'm not rich enough or smart enough to get her in. Even though it's been prescribed 3 times, she's not going back to regular school because she's not healthy enough. So what do? I homeschool her while I'm dying. It's totally fine. I'm handling it. My kidneys take my water right out of my stomach. So if there's any food left over from the night before, I have to put more water in so that it'll digest through, or else I just throw it up. It's great. It's fine. I'm handling it. Okay. So now we're here. My son, due to my irritation to the principals, a demanding explanation for what my son's teacher just did to my son in school. And I want to talk to his supervisor because then he just got lippy, and then he decided on his personal time to take his DSBN address and go onto his LinkedIn and look through, because I see that, because you have to be paying extra to be able to like have anonymous viewing. Obviously, teachers don't make enough, and nobody makes enough money, and he doesn't. And I have a record of him looking at my stuff the day that I asked for him to be excused from his duty, because he's teaching civics. He's teaching law. Okay, fine. Apparently, we don't have the right people in the right positions at this point. Totally fine. Then my son loses his spot in virtual school. Unregistered, because they say I didn't respond to a phone call to my house indicating my preference. I don't need to do that, because with my son's resource teacher, who no longer seems to have a job, I'd like to know where Miss Prochownik is so I can give her a hug. Because we got my son in virtual school last year, got 8 credits. And so far this year in virtual school, he's only failed 1. Okay. Virtual school was working for us. We had talked to the resource teacher we were working with, and we were going to register him for 2 credits only September, and then 2 more in January, which that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to see where we are, because my son can't handle any more of this shit. Then he loses his place. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Now they're demanding, and I'm calling, and I'm like, my son's not going in class. He's never even been there. He's never been to this school, and I'm not allowed in, and you're not going to treat him well because he doesn't want to be there. So what do you mean my son is on a wait list if I want him? What do you mean? Well, they just decided your son wasn't in school anymore. My son is Indigenous. Again. Okay? Again. This is all happening. Now, this is in September. So this is August 5th. I start trying to indicate to the Ford government there's a problem with the school system. I reached out to Jenny Stevens, who told me my problems with the DSBN were between me and the DSBN. So I don't need Jenny Stevens anymore. I don't need Chris Biddle anymore, who also told me this is not how you reach your elected officials, because yes, it is. If I can reach you, that's how I'm going to reach you, because this problem is very important to me, because nobody is watching what the teachers are doing for the teenagers, and nobody is seeing what's coming in those emails. Do I need to tell you how emails work? I already told them. Okay. So now, first week of September, neither one of my children are at school, because in my head, I'm still waiting for therapy school for my daughter, because she just watched her mom be assaulted by the Niagara Regional Police. It's even worse. So she gets discharged from Hamilton McMaster Children's Hospital Psych Unit on Labor Day. Okay, this is all happening at the same time. Day after Labor Day, my son isn't going to school. My daughter isn't going to school. First week of September, there's no school. Second week of September, I'm like, excuse me, what the fuck? And I finally get in touch with the principal, and I indicate, absolutely not. My son has an IEP because we came from private education. My ex-husband had money, and my ex-husband's family had money, and they went to Ridley. And that's when I got my psych ed assessment without going on a wait list. I have a private one, which the school board has, which I doubt they've even looked at, which is fine as long as it's I understand they don't have the money to do everything Ridley was doing, but one of the main things is that my son uses a computer to learn. He always has since grade 4. In Ridley, they started grade 5, but they had to start him early because like his hand-eye thing is just terrible. So he does really well on a computer. So explain to me, ma'am, why my son with an IEP who is Indigenous is not in school right now. Well, these emails are automatic. Like, you need to stop talking to me because I know they're automatic, and everything you say is not getting my son in school. And that's what I said. You need to stop talking to me. What do you need to do? And what do I need to do to put my son in school? My son missed the first month of school. The first month. And it happens to be that civics is a half a credit, which means he had 1 month to catch up, and he didn't do it because by that point he was so far behind in 2 courses that he didn't do anything. And so now I'm just trying to make him feel smart enough, because he's so smart, but he's so overwhelmed. All of your kids are overwhelmed, and he doesn't think he has a chance. And so whatever, if we lose this credit too, that's fine, because I'm adding like his reputation in his grades goes back to the person he is. He's not a shitty kid. Like, not that there's really any shitty kids, but like there are some kids who don't really want to go to school, but he does want to learn. He just wants to learn, and he wants to do what he needs to do, and he wants to move on. Okay, so like, all right. So now my daughter's still not in school because, okay, so Family and Children's Services of Niagara come in guns blazing. I don't realize that they have a police report from the police from my assault. That is news to me. But luckily, it's also news to them that I was put on a psych hold at all. Because I told them that because I'm like, this is what happened. This is why I need your help. And I startled her because she didn't know what I was talking about. And I gave her a form to read and she didn't know how to read the form. So whatever. And at that point, we were being like separated into our own rooms. My daughter was having a dissociative episode. I'm having anxiety attacks, whatever. I have to sign all my rights away to her. Immediately, I'm able to get them back. I think she'd already done damage by talking to my family doctor since I was 16, because since then, all he's offered to order me is a tox screen. Clearly, I don't have a doctor anymore. The government has a doctor now. Perfectly fine, because you get to decide, you get to now defend his actions over the last year. Whatever, I don't care. I wanted to see Dr. Brown. I asked to go back. I asked for an ultrasound. I was declined all of those things. I was only allowed to have a hormone study and a tox screen. They're there. So everything is happening at once. But now this lady goes, that's right. That's between August 22nd the 23rd when I called 911 for a carbon monoxide test, because that's what made sense for the symptom that I was having at the time. And now school and whatever. So now this lady comes in, she's gone, we go, she goes into psych, she comes back, nobody's in school. We're still Indigenous. So I'm like, okay. So I know that fax is coming back because they have to. The behavior of that one family and children's services, Milana, she is now, I've called her manager. Her managers are called, the ombudsman is on their ass. They're calling my husband and they're apologizing. Okay. They're saying that that absolutely shouldn't have happened. Blah, 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 blah. If she still has a job, I'd be fucking amazed. Fine, because it's bad people, right? I need family and children's services to be on my side because I can't do anything at all. I need help, right? I need help because the government pays family and children's services to offer specialized resources. And in my head, I have an unstable 13-year-old and my 15-year-old is not in school. But by the time the new lady comes, I have threatened with legal action, the DSBN, because he has an IEP. He needs to be in school. And the more they keep talking to me, the worse it's getting. Because you just need to get him in school. Because every day he's not in school is a day I can prove he wasn't in school. So please just stop trying to explain to me what happened and just put my kid in the education. Okay? Please do that. So the second fax lady comes and I'm offered an Indigenous advocate. Thank God. So I'm telling this lady everything that the old lady did, because this is what happened, and this is what happened, and this is what happened. And I'm understanding that that is not your job. And I'm understanding that this conversation is voluntary, because I have an understanding that if you have a reason to believe that I require supervision as a parent, you can go to the court system and you can request that. And you can prove to the court system that I am not a stable parent. And then the judge will be like, are you a stable parent or are you not a stable parent? I don't think they're going to be able to prove fucking a goddamn thing that would indicate that I have done anything exactly what I was supposed to do in the circumstances that I was in. Otherwise, I wouldn't be alive right now on the account of the cops attacking me. So the fact that I just stay in my house and drink water on the friggin' internet, it goes a long way to having my friggin' reputation be documented. Because in the event of my death, it all turns into the malpractice lawsuit on the account of the fact that I went into the hospital for a documented now UTI 4 months later and ended up in psych. So fuck you for removing my rights as an Indigenous person. You get what you get at this point, Dr. Noor from the St. Catherine's Hospital. Okay, whatever. So what is my plan? My plan is to take down the school system. Because this is not how my children learn. This is not how your children learn. And this is how Indigenous people work. This is not how children learn. So our children will not be learning like that. And also nobody else's children should be learning like that. And if you want it to be, that's fine. But we're going to do our own thing now. And I think you'll notice a lot of people homeschooling right now. And if we're homeschooling right now, then why are you getting my tax dollars for the school? If I'm doing your work for you, I would like my tax money back. You know what I mean? If I'm doing your medical work for you, I would like my tax money back because I'm Indigenous. And so you got here, I was going to keep this at an hour because I thought maybe somebody would be here. Nobody's freaking watching me right now. Totally fine. Not a single person watching me right now. That's fine. I'm just going to grab my first liter of water because the first one is the carryover from yesterday, and I have to drink this because my kidneys take all of the water out of my body while I'm sleeping, and when I wake up I'm very, very sick because there's no water and I'm so dehydrated that it's really bad. And so I need to go because I'm having an anxiety attack because I'm that thirsty. I'm just gonna run and get 2 more of these. This goes in this. I have to see 8 bottles of water before I can sleep. Trust me, my life is harder than you think. So I'm just going to go out that door and I'm going to go get 2 bottles of water, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to explain to you how residential schools started and how they turned in to regular schools. Because there wasn't anybody to determine it was necessary. I walk a little slow. I'm dizzy when I walk. Still, that's why I'm not at home yet, because at my house, I live in a rental by Real Star, and the banisters on my stairs aren't into the drywall, and I'm worried if I lose my balance because I'm very dizzy and I'll fall down my stairs and die. So I'm here because there's only 1 floor here, but there's stairs to get down. So I haven't left since I got here because I'm just quite frankly not strong enough. And I can't think and talk and walk at the same time. I have to focus on walking. Okay. But I promise I'm okay. As long as I walk slow and I pay attention to where my feet are, I'm okay. I think there might be some nerve damage for how dehydrated I got, because it was really bad, really, really bad. And I think there might be some nerve damage in my legs, and that's okay because I'm trying to get blood floating to them now by soaking my body in water and getting my skin to absorb as much of it as I can, and by putting lotion on top so it stays in there, and then I feel like a whoosh of like fresh oxygen. So it's working. Every day is getting better, but like you have to understand, like it is scary for me. It might be scary for you watching me because I do shuffle around. I'm also not pregnant. There's no thing in my belly. So it's really important that if you see me, you don't mention it, because if you mention it, I'll cry because of what happened at Mount Sinai, you know? So it's fine if I'm not pregnant, but no one seems to care that like all of a sudden this is existing, and it's like it's going to get bigger as I drink water, because it's like my uterus, everything needs water, and it's like everything. And all of a sudden I'm going to drink 2 of these. I'm going to drink 4 of these, and then it's going to look even bigger. And it's really important that if I show up to your hospital and you're a security guard, you don't ask me if I'm going to labor and delivery, because when you do that, you alter my entire stay, because then I have to go to labor and delivery before I'll be seen at an emergency room. So it's really, really important that no matter what you see a woman's body, you do not comment on it, no matter what. No matter what, no matter what, no matter what. Right? Because like your careless words of indicating to me that I look pregnant meant as I could not access emergent care because I looked pregnant. Yeah? It's documented. I was registered at Mount Sinai Hospital in the maternity ward on the first time I went, the Friday. Whatever day that was. I don't even know why I'm still here, because you'd think that the government of somewhere would want me to stop talking. It's fine. Again, I can't talk and sit. So give me a second. Just give me a second. It's fine. Just let me sort myself out for 1 second.
we do. Let me just get in to my bed. As soon as I'm sitting, I'm fine. As soon as I'm sitting, I'm fine. Okay, hi. Thank you. Because as a woman, I have to explain the way my body looks. And I can't. I have nothing to explain what my body looks because I asked for an MRI that first time I went in because I'm like the head and the water, and I even brought all the empty bottles so that they could see how much water, 8 bottles every day, every fucking day. I'm like, you need to, that's a lot. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not only a lot, it's impossible, but you have to adjust the dilution rate of all of the shit you're finding in my urine. No one did. It's totally fine, but like not fine because your doctors don't know how to diagnose dehydration. That's totally fine. And my kidneys don't look proper under the, it's fine. Unspecific, we have no idea what that means, but that doesn't mean anything and you are cool to go. Oh my God. You guys are so fun. When I get there. I'm not quite done. Excuse me. Excuse me. But I have to, the first couple, go slow. I'm shaking. Okay. So now what do I do? Oh, residential school. So how, okay. So let me quickly explain how the school system that you know today came to be. How do I say this nicely? Okay, back it before. We as Indigenous people were here and we had our own way of life. Let me start there. How about I start there this time? Okay. We had our society of people, because there wasn't as many now. So like, I'm not saying it was better, but I'm just saying this is how it worked. We had tribes. It was like large kind of settlements, little like groups of things. And then we were community livers. You know, we had community gardens. We didn't have money. We didn't really need to. We just were, our survival was based on our survival. And we were just whatever. And we would have kids and we would raise them all together. We would feed each other all together. And but we had tribes. So like weren't doing for everybody, but we could, if needed, we could come together. You kind of see that kind of thing referenced in Pocahontas because that's the first thing they did. They're like, we got to call everybody else because so imagine those are cities, kind of just wherever, scattered wherever. That we were walkers. Did we have horses? I don't know. I don't even remember what we had then. I don't know, but I do know we had like, a couple things and whatever, mostly just living off the land. And one day, over in another part of the world that is dying of disease and syphilis and, diseases that come from people who are breeding with people who are too closely related to them because they're trying to hold on to palaces and land and power. So they're trying to keep their bloodline as clean as possible, which makes sense. And that way of thinking, if you don't know how the body works or how reproduction works or how like if we haven't discovered DNA yet, in that way, you can see why they would think that. We don't want anybody else to have this and we don't want it. Okay. Well, their life over there is becoming intense. Now, this is the time where there's still kings and queens and peasants, and like there's people who live in between, and there's people all in the spectrum there, similar to now, actually. But worse because there wasn't real medicine. It was medieval medicine, that kind of thing. So they get on a boat and they come to our house. Only they don't expect to find us there. They think they're coming over so they can claim more land for the kings and queens they're working for. But we're already here.
Well, that doesn't matter because to them, they already have guns and we aren't killing people for no reason. So we didn't have a need to create guns. We just had a more peaceful life, which probably did lead to our, like they probably did, what is the word? Like evolve a little more quickly because they were producing quicker. So like in ours, we had middle-aged women having babies, because the young girls, they were the hunters. They weren't getting knocked up right away. They were working first and then creating. So like that's how we did it. You were a soldier for the first little bit of your life. You were either helping your mom in the field or you were helping your dad in the hunting. Well, dads were in the field, the moms were the hunters. And if you were pregnant or had a small baby, you were kind of taking care of the village because all of the moms and all of the dads were out hunting. So like the ones who had children watched everybody. And then as their children grew up, they could go back to hunting or teaching or whatever we did. I don't know. But that's basically how it was. So they were evolving quicker. They were marrying their kids off as teenagers or less, and they were having babies. So yeah, they probably evolved faster. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they evolved better. It just means that they evolved faster. So when they got here, they were probably smarter than us because we were just like, we're just happy to be here. Like, whatever, we're cool. We're chill people. Indigenous people, native people, we're just the chillest human beings unless you piss us off. We endure most things, but like as soon as you fuck with our kids, we kind of because we have something to say about it, right? You'd think as a person, I'm not going to be like, no, please abuse my children in the school system. Okay, because this is how it started. So they got here and we surprised them because they'd never seen a person before and they had no idea what to do with somebody who didn't speak a language with them. So all they knew how to do was kill us. So they did. And they did. So basically, they slaughtered the first couple waves of human beings that they encountered. Slaughtered them because they're like ours now. Now they don't have any understanding of how many of us there are or how far back we've come, and they have no idea. They don't have maps then. They don't have GPS. They don't have intel. They just have what they see. Now remember, these people are super smart, but actually very inbred. So these particular versions of people are just whatever. Totally fine. Eventually, though this goes on for like 50 years or 100 years, I just brushed up. Honestly, I can't learn about it while my children are still suffering in it. So it's going to be a thing that we all learn about together in little bits because my children have to learn it in history and I can't, and they can't read it without having a post-traumatic stress disorder situation. And I can't help them through that without the same. Mm-hmm. So what they're teaching children in the textbooks now is causing PTSD for the moms living through it. Okay? That's a problem. When your parents cannot even handle what you're teaching the children, then you're not going to be able to teach them anything, right? I'm telling you, your school system's over. Okay? Because what happened next is, then they start all coming over. And there's like, yeah, but they don't. They have to mail it in a boat going back, and they just start showing up here. And everybody there is like, we're going to the new land. We're going for our new life. So they don't understand exactly what's happening. They just know that maybe they know that there were people that are getting cleared away, but they won't have the ability to understand what that means yet because they're over there. They're just like, oh, there's a new land. Oh, I want to go there. Here's full of disease and theirs doesn't seem to. So I have a better chance of living if I head over here. That makes sense because they aren't bad people. They are just, what are my options of survival? Here where we just shit in the same water where we drink, or we can go there and just roll the dice. And so lots of people did. The Pilgrims got on the wherever boat and they just Mayflower and they're good job. And then let's fast forward. Drink some water. I'm thirsty again. My lips are dry. My mouth is dry. This is my first full liter of water today. this is my first full liter of water today, but my first bottle of today's 8. There's always a carryover one. I don't know I don't know if it should be 8 or 9 bottles of water. That's why I need an MRI. But there's a 2-year wait list in Ontario. Plus, I don't have a fucking doctor that will give it to me. I can't receive any health care anywhere. So here we are. I'm talking to the internet because I don't think the internet offers our MRI services. But I mean, in case they do, this is why I need them. Okay, I'm just gonna. It's not enough yet. Okay, because I have to figure out what to do. Like I, as a human being, need to show up for work on Monday. Am I continuing to work for free? Or am I taking down my local high school because it abuses children? Or am I doing something more meaningful? Like that's up to the internet at this point. Because this is my plan. Okay, so we're going to fast forward 100 years, and then Sir John A. Macdonald decides he's coming over and he's going to be the prime minister. God knows where he came from. I can't even look, but whatever. He's here. Now, we have enough people here now that are from there to here to need governing. And there's a problem because there are still all of us native people roaming around, and they can't do whatever they want because our teepees are on where they want to build roads. So what do? Well, if you're somebody in power, you say, then let's train them. Let's train them. Let's take all of the people who don't speak English and train them. And we're going to train them on how to be English. Okay? Okay? Because English, now think about it. England is a place, English is a language, and now they're going to train us how to be what they think English people should be. Yeah? And so Sir John A. Macdonald decided that they were going to build big schools, build them, and the church that the Queen Allegiance has is going to be the one to do it, because who better to teach how to be English than the church themselves? And they're thinking, we might as well let the church do it because the church is closest to God. God can't be wrong. Okay? Whatever. Why they thought it, because you have to assume, so you have to assume each person isn't bad. You have to assume each person has a wife who loves them or a husband who loves them. You have to assume that. Because if you can't assume that, then your vision is skewed, right? You have to assume that this person can go home to a wife every day and not beat her. Or, you know what I mean? Like this person, Sir John A. Macdonald, was accountable to his wife. You think about that. So you can't be, if you're a shithead, you're not going to be married unless you're fucking Melania and you're stuck. Because you can tell that she was put in a situation she didn't exactly agree with, and she was kind of fucking, so if we could leave her alone, that would be great. Because the fact she lived it all indicates that she's smarter than freaking Diana to just sit and stay. Sometimes as a woman, you stay put because that's all you can do. And if one man is going to make sure that a doctor doesn't kill you, then you win, sir. You are my favorite person, and I love my husband. And so we have to assume, back to them, that Sir John A. Macdonald had to go home to his wife. So how is he going to explain this to his wife? What is he going to tell her when they're laying in bed at night? How is he going to explain to her what he's doing, right? You got to understand, people agreed. So what did they say? They said that if they want to be here with us, they must act like us. And if we don't train them, we're setting them up to fail because our people are already killing them all over the place. Our white people or just killing them. Because you have to imagine, it's not just vigilantes. We've got businessmen. Well, I want to build something here, so I'm just going to go in at night and kill everybody, and then they'll be gone, and then I'll throw their shit in the garbage, and then I'll do it. You know what I mean? So he's managing a country that's probably it was built on chaos and destruction and death. So you have to imagine his job wasn't very easy. So Sir John A. Macdonald says, okay, the only thing I can think to do, because I'm an idiot, is build schools, and then we'll get the kids and then we'll put them in these schools, so then at least they'll be safe and they won't be murdered because they'll be in one of our schools. And okay, so we got Sir John A. Macdonald, and he says to keep the Indigenous people safe from the vigilantes that are roaming like the Wild West of the freaking internet now. They're just freaking all over the place. And they're doing whatever they want. So Sir John A. Macdonald, as a person in power, has to say, well, what do I do about this? Because it's not good either way. I can't have, because these people are fighting back. And so like, then there's this war, because it's a war. You know what I mean? It is a war. So they're actually creating a country while it's still claiming the land. Okay, fine. So Sir John A. Macdonald says, great, kids. We're going to get all your kids. Fuck you. This is the safest thing for them. We're going to teach them how to do English, and we're going to teach them how to work for us. Because that's the only way I can think to keep them safe. All right. And then they left it up to the church. So between the church and the government, they came up with laws that would indicate it was mandatory. And this is where shit goes off the rails, because the idea is logical. It makes logical sense. Everything else does not, but I can see what he might have been trying to do when he's talking to his wife. He's like, what am I going to do? I'm a prime minister of his country. Clearly, this is not working. He's the first one, because it wasn't even a country yet. It was still in war. No, but the English are just claiming it because they think they can claim everything. Goes back to what I was saying yesterday about the NHL and that Calder guy who came from Britain and stole the cup and brought it to the States. Yeah? Okay. So you can see what has been happening for so long now. Okay. Okay. I'm going to take some more water and then I'm going to continue. Okay? Because I have to tell you what my plan is, you know? And I make promises only. So I have to explain to you what I'm doing so that I give everybody the opportunity to help me. Because so far there's none been, but like at the same time, like I can only this is my plan, because I have to show up for work on Monday. For some reason, the media doesn't want to cover something as big as this, because it's probably terrifying, because I'm right. When you strip somebody's citizenship away and take away their human rights, that's a felony. It's a felony. A felony. So how long are you going to, and if I die, it gets worse. So I assume people want to help me while while I'm still trying to explain this shit to the kids. Because I've kept up my end of the bargain this whole time, and I've not done or said anything that would not make sense. Just gonna drink some more water, and I'm gonna medicate from my anxiety attack, because you see it a lot, but I'm just pretending I'm live on TV for some reason right now. Okay, I'm just gonna take a commercial break from the Weedy Point Ontario cannabis store, or your local Ontario cannabis retailer. 10 out of 10. Fine. So I'm having an anxiety attack, if I do every day. Every day, I have to remind my lungs to function. Totally fine. I'm going to drink some water, and then we're going to talk into, now that we have schools to train the Indigenous people on how to be English. Okay? Mm-hmm. My stomach has a capacity of 3 cups, so 750 milliliters. I know that because that's how much soup I can put into it. I had to go a huge period of time drinking only Lipton soup. And I knew how bad I was dehydrated based on how much soup I could fit into my body within an hour. It's fine. I've been doing this a long time. I'm not worried about my health right now. I'm worried about your health. So I fixed it for me. But I got to tell you guys to fix it for you. Okay. So Sir John A. Macdonald has these buildings built and they put the church in charge. And then the church now is the one who's going to talk to the internet, to the government about how they're going to do that, how they're going to teach the English lessons of how to be English, because we only speak our language, whatever it is. And remember, our evolution hasn't come as fast. So yeah, we look a little different, and because it's just a thing. So we do. If you look back on pictures, we look a little different because we hadn't reproduced as many times. We were still new. We were closer to the Neanderthals because that's kind of how it happened. Now, I'm not going to go into right now today of what happened before the Neanderthals, because I think we can all agree that if you look back in pictures, you can see that we looked different then. As a human being, we look different. You can see it in us because we haven't reproduced as many times at that point. But the Europeans had just had 10 times the amount of babies that they should have been allowed during that time. And they all look different, way different. And some of them look way different even from that. So you look at the paintings, you can see what was kind of happening over there. And you can see it now. Okay, so the Europeans come over and they're staffing these schools. So the church will call over to Europe and they'll say, hey, we've got these schools, these churches, we need this many priests. We need this many teachers. We need this many people. And then they'll send them right from there. Now, I have to put some assumptions in place here because I know how the government works. So what I think probably most likely happened as I'm explaining this to everybody is the government said, this is all that I can think to do. Build the churches, build the schools, and deal with it. Because I happen to know the government doesn't do much of anything. So, right, we know that. Have you ever tried to have a permit approved? Frig, it took my dad like 6 months to get his garage approved. Let the man build a garage. He's going to do a good job. Fuck. Anyway, so I have the way I'm going to represent this story from Indigenous people, trying not to incite violence, is that Sir John A. Macdonald now has no idea what's happening in the school systems. Okay? They no idea. He will only know what his delegate says is happening in the school system. So he's probably only going to talk to a couple of people from the organization that is now residential schools. But they're probably called regular schools. They're probably called, I don't know, internment camps or conscription camps or whatever they were calling them then. It's what it was. It was a place that they were putting these people who didn't speak their language and making them learn how to speak our language, learning how to be English. Okay, but the government is also trying to establish a government, create a currency, build roads, put infrastructure in, because you have to remember over there, they already had those things, just real shitty versions of it. And all of it was diseased, but they knew how to do it. So they were doing it here. So he's busy. He's busy and he's not dealing with it and he's not paying attention because nobody ever is. Because when they put the church in charge, they assumed that God was leading the bunch and it was fine. Because I don't know, and I don't know that it ever was that Sir Johnny, was he even Christian? Or was he, what was he? It doesn't, no one really knows because it doesn't really matter. All he knows is the people around him said, just put the church in charge because then you at least know it's going to get done right. And he's like, what church? And then he would have to call over to the queen and say, hey, I guess you guys own this land that I'm doing. What should be in charge of the school system? And then somebody over there says it's got to be the Catholic Church or the queen's not going to stand for it. Cool. That makes sense. So now he's like, fine, send us the people and they're going to staff it themselves. That makes sense. So So Johnny McDonald was like, hey, so now it's law. If your kids are between this age and this age, you're going to go to there. That's where you're going. Well, we didn't exactly take too kindly to that. And we didn't understand why it was happening at all. Why we couldn't just keep doing our thing while you guys are doing your thing. We didn't understand that then. Well, we don't understand it now, by the way. So, all right. Well, all of a sudden things get ugly because now it's not a fight of what do I do, my options. It's this is what your choices, do it or don't. And we didn't have a choice. So now it was like, you're doing it. No, I'm not. So that is now the conversation. It's not what my options were originally. It's this is my option now. Do I agree or do I not agree? And so when it's like yes and no, then it's whoever's stronger, right? Now whoever wins this battle is the stronger battler. Yeah. So whatever. The guys with the guns start grabbing all of our kids and they throw them in these slammers and they're to be learning English there. But we're not allowed to see our kids. We're not allowed to see them. We're not allowed to, they're no longer ours. They live there now. Now what has happened is because they have to live there, they belong to the country. So now what the government actually did without thinking about it is creating a situation where they're training English. And now they get to decide how they can determine what the English people should be learning. Okay, that makes sense. So now if they're looking at a situation where they're currently at war with their parents, right? So now the English and the indigenous are fighting still because now they're fighting over the kids. When we would have just been fine enough to have, it would have been fine. But now you're like, you know what? All I can think to do is train these kids how to not be army insurgents for them, because that's the only way we're going to win this war. So, and we already have the kids, and the Catholic Church gets to decide what they learn. And the Catholic Church doesn't need to tell anybody what they're teaching. Yeah, that makes sense because nobody has ever questioned the Catholic Church. Fine. That's whatever. Okay, so we've got these kids in these schools being taught by priests that are notoriously not patient people with no real understanding of, and remember, they are further ahead in their evolution than we are then, because we didn't reproduce hastily. We produced based on the needs of our planet. Yeah, because we don't have more babies than we can sustain. Because if there's too many babies, there's not enough women doing the hunting. So we need to make sure that there's like we got in pregnant people and not pregnant people, and we just manage that because we are not stupid. So that's fine. We manage it best we can. Whatever. So fuck. Now all of the fucking kids that we own are in these schools, and the Catholic Church gets to decide what they can teach to be English. Fighters. Because if they're like, well, if they are already here and we're already teaching them how to not fight with their parents, we might as well teach them how to fight with us. We might as well. I mean, we've used this system a few times since then. Yeah, you can look at what happened with the Japanese and the Chinese. Like we've done this before in more recent knowledge. So when I look at one of those situations and I'm like, everyone had a wife. If you have a wife, you have to explain this to somebody and you have to be able to rationalize it some way for you to see when things got out of control. Because that's the thing, when things are out of control, you can bring it back. Anytime you see something out of hand, you can rein it in. Okay, so let's recap. We have all of the indigenous people in residential schools with the priests, and none of them know English. And we've got parents of those children fighting a war to not have their children put away from them in these residential schools. because you have to remember these laws were put in place before the war was done. They got here and started putting laws in place, and it was because we were behind than they were. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. All right. So now we have a situation where we have even worse war under a guise of that this is just what Canada is. This is just what Canada is. Because if you see how it was started in a situation where we want you to go to school and we don't want to send you. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I'm not saying nobody wants to send their kids, but in general, that's where it started. Canada was founded on a campaign promise that we would make every Indigenous person attend school to be better English, because you have to see that this was being spun. There were newspapers, there were everything. There at that time, even though we were living in teepees, other parts of the world were significantly more advanced. So they just came over with their shit. So when they were friggin' doing whatever they were doing here, news was happening there. Like shit was still happening over there and everywhere else. So this was just a situation where we were paving roads here for the first time, but people were here. Okay. So Sir John A. Macdonald says, I will make every native Indian go to school to be like us so that they won't die because we kill them in the war we're doing. All right. Now you see. Does that make sense? This is what happened. And so in the schools, so that's how we got them there. That's how Canada got all the kids to these schools in the first place. Okay, because there's been shit that's come out that said like you may only get your kids for our Christian holidays, and it has to go from this time and this time. And if you don't return your child to us, we will find you, we will kill you, and we will take them anyway. Okay, so our options were to oblige so we could see our kids sometimes, fight the bigger war if we were trying to stop it at all, but we were trying to use their systems. Now, these are the people making the law. So every time we try to do something with the law, they just say no. They just changed the law. And so as long as you're not in the power, you can't beat the system. All you can do is not die. Sound familiar? Cool. I'm going to take some more water because I almost have to pee. Because the first pee is the last time pee, and then I have to pee the new pee, and that'll be more indicative of what's happening because I'm still passing a lot of pus from the kidney stone I passed this week. I've been feeling a lot better since then. Didn't know it was there. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Okay, so that's now a full liter and a half in my body since I've woken up. Fantastic. Please take it right from my stomach and throw it in the toilet. And I just need to have enough to fill up my kidneys so that my stomach can use it to digest the food that's left over. It's fine. I've been doing this for fucking a year. It's fine. It's totally fine. My kidneys are not working, and I'm trying to tell a doctor, and no one will listen to me. It's not an emergency. Totally fine. I don't know how long kidneys can function at this high rate, but whatever. We're rolling the dice because on Monday I show up for work somewhere. I know I do. So if I'm working for free, I'm working for free, but I'm going to be your worst nightmare. Okay. Okay. So now we know how we have all the Indigenous kids in these residential schools. We can see what had happened there. We can see that the wrong people were put in charge at the very, very beginning of public relations. Because I'm pretty sure we would have been able to come up with an idea that was better than this, that you are still paying for like 300 years later. Like, this is just not going to go away. The fact of how the country was founded is not going to go away. Facts are facts. And that's why I can say certain facts without crying, because facts aren't scary. That's what I always tell myself. Facts aren't scary. Okay, so now we have these. Now, okay, so that's big. Now let's look at smaller. Now let's look at what's happening in the residential schools. Because if you look at what's happening in the residential schools, you can start to draw parallels to what's still happening, because you can see what's still happening with the government. Still doesn't do anything, still doesn't listen to the people, still doesn't talk to anybody, still does whatever they want, whatever. So those things still happen, and they're still saying it's mandatory for people to go to school. Okay, that hasn't changed. It is still mandatory to attend school. Okay, so let's go back to what's happening in the residential schools now. Let me explain to you that. Yeah, okay. Although before I do, I'm going to have to run and get 2 more bottles of water, because I do need to drink like 4 bottles of water before like my day can start. Yeah, that makes sense? Okay. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to do the same thing. You're going to watch me get up. I'm not even going to have a panic attack anymore. I'm just going to assume you're not going to talk about my body until I have an MRI to say anything about it. You don't get to comment on my body until I've had an MRI at all. No one can say anything about it. Okay? I'm just going to go get 2 more bottles of water. Okay? Okay. Don't get scared. I'm just going to walk. Come on, I'm back. All right, I'm back. Okay. Just going to fill up my water, because it's really, I have a harder time drinking from bottles. I've also been like slipping on more of my words than usual, but I'm pretty sure that'll go away. Because even if I do have a head injury, I mean, head injuries don't generally get worse. They just kind of get better or stay the same. Because once you harm your brain, you can't gain new brain cells. And I've always stuttered, so it's fine. I think really fast. All right, so we've explained how we got the kids to the school, because now you can apply that same knowledge if you're Asian. You know what I mean? Like, you can be like, oh, okay, that's how they did it. Exactly. That's exactly how they did it to us. That's how they did it to you. You know, and I bet you they're super sorry about that too. Like, I do. I bet you they're super sorry. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? You're just like, holy shit, did she just do that? And yes, I absolutely did. I don't have to pee yet, but when I do, I will go and do that. I know. And it's like, I've been doing this on lives like all week, and I've been doing it in videos for months. So like, trust me when you're just like, uh-oh. I'm like, I know. So, because I'm going to explain what happened at the residential school level so that you can understand what happened at every other school level. So, okay. So now we've got schools being run by the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church has come together as an entity. I'm assuming, I'm making some assumptions here, but I have to assume that when they called over for the teachers and they sent them on a boat and they got here, because that's kind of how people were getting here still at that time. Well, plus they needed the people to fight the native people who they were, they were losing. Whatever, because we were really quite smart people. Cool. Because remember, though, we are less advanced than they were then. All right. So in these schools, you've got to assume there's like somebody's a president of school, and then there's got to be some people who work underneath them, and then some more people under that, and then teachers. Because you know what a school looks like now. There's somebody who's in charge, and they go to the meetings, and the meetings are whatever. And then you'd assume that there were meetings of like, what do we need to teach these kids? And like, there had to be they were trying to do something. So whatever it was, but they were never going to try without a plan. You always have to have a plan before you do anything. Whether it's a good plan is up to how smart you are, but either way, they had a plan. So they were trying to deliver curriculum. You can see pictures. There were sometimes, it looks like there were some places that had desks. Did they all have desks? I don't know. We don't know. Were they all allowed to have desks? I don't know. Because you have to assume if there was a picture being taken, it was probably being taken for advertisements, because pictures then were not common. So there had to be a goddamn good reason for them to be taking pictures of these. They had to be used for something. So I can't say for sure if they were actually sitting in desks most of the day, or if they were mostly just in friggin' squalor conditions being beaten. No one can really say unless you were there, but I know what people are saying that are there, but I have to go on what I know as facts. And so what I know as facts is they would have had a set amount of things they would have had to teach them, because they would have had to do what they said that they were going to do when they left. They were going to have to resist their own parents, and they were going to have to learn how to speak English and work for white people. That's what they promised that they were going to be able to do, because that's how they were going to keep them safe from the war. They were going to train them how to not be dangerous for their own safety. Yeah? Does that make sense? Because like, if they are like down with white people and then white people kill them, they'll be like, well, you should have told them not to be down with white people, right? You'd be like, oh, we didn't tell you we were going to kill you. So we gotta train that into you. Hi, we are Britain and we are owning you now. And so you should be learning our language because ours is superior than yours. And we already use it, and we're not going to fuck with you because you look different than we do. Because again, if you look at the pictures, they do look like Neanderthals. Like, they do look like they had not evolved so quickly. Okay, we're a slow burn country. We're a slow burn people. Let me tell you, there's a few of them, and it's fine. Okay, so that's over there now. So now we've got, like, I don't know why to tell you this. Like, it's insane why I have to teach you this. So we've got people in these residential schools, and they're just freaking beating and murdering these children. And we know that to be true because we, as a country of Canada, have just decided that, yes, it does seem like a good idea that we now scan and dig up certain residential schools to find all of the remains of the children we dumped in unmarked graves. That is a fact. And I'm going to say it again because you seem to not understand government of anything, that when you are a person of a specific ethnicity that was targeted by a certain group of authoritative entities to the point where you can no longer hide the 4-year-old remains of your ancestors. Because you made it mandatory for me as an Indigenous woman to give you my children. Okay. And then you killed them 300 years ago. Okay. And you're currently unburying them. And now we're going to have to count them. Okay. We get a little touchy about the systems that are still in place. Yeah. Yeah. So when I say I speak for us all, I speak for us all. Everybody, everyone you don't even know is watching. Everybody you don't even know, I'm here for a reason. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm talking to my fellow Indigenous Canadians. Okay. So we have the Catholic Church raping and murdering babies. Yeah. Okay. Because it's a law. That's the law. The law says that I have to give you my children and I will never see them again. Either they're going to go off and become military or they're just going to die because I can't control that because it's the law and you've done it and you've taken it and you probably killed my husband trying to save me and my child. So, okay. So we have that situation. Okay. So that's how school started. Now things get a little blurry because two things happened, and I don't know the order that they happened in, but I guess that it happened in this order. I'm assuming, because I'm not researching it, because quite frankly, my heart goes up a little bit, and part of my job is just keeping my heart rate a little regular because of all the injuries and the things. Everything that the MRI will show, which I cannot get right now in Ontario. As an Indigenous woman, I do not have the access to receive this test, and there is a wait list of 2 years if I ever even get to speak to a doctor. If they even, after I convince them that is the only test that will do exactly what I needed to do, which is show the head injury and the kidneys in the same thing, so you can actually draw with a fucking permanent marker a line between the two, because I can't seem to be able to be like, but this test and this test equal this, and they'd be like, no, maybe that's not an emergency though. It's like, fine. Okay. At some point, enough need, either by political pressure or financial requirements, like they decided that the Indigenous people were no longer going to have to learn separate from white people. Because remember the segregation. Now you can draw parallels wherever you need to, but at some point someone was like, fuck it, let's put them all in the same school. Okay. And then at some point someone else said, we're not going to teach Catholic religion in school anymore. There's no religion in schools anymore. Okay. So first they said everyone has to learn together. Because you have to imagine with the there were regular schoolhouses, but they were schoolhouses, and there were like 15 kids in the class, and there was one lady who taught all day in schoolhouses. We had residential schools, but there were schoolhouses. And then I think when the population gained so big, and they just were like, okay, all at once. And then somebody else said, no more religion in schools. Meaning that we didn't want children learning about Christ, the Catholic Church. It was just that we didn't want the Catholic school, the Catholic Church running everything anymore. We didn't want that. We were tired of hearing about it, whatever. They didn't say no religion at all. They just said that one religion can't run everything, and we still have a Catholic school board. Okay, we still have a version of the school where you can learn Catholic religion, and we have a version of the school where you don't learn Catholic religion. Public, Catholic, public. They're both public, but we just call public. It's like non-religious and religious, basically. But it's all religious because that's what our calendar is set upon. So like everyone gets Christmas off. It's Christmas, yeah? Okay. So, who created the original curriculum? And who's created everyone since? And who's created, who's the person who decided what kids need to know and when? Is what I'm asking. That's the question I'm asking. Who decided this shit? It wasn't me. And it wasn't my mom. And it wasn't her mom. And it wasn't her mom after that. And it sure as hell wasn't fucking my great grandfather, who actually probably was the first one to lose his kids to residential school. So what I'm saying is, what do I do now? What do I do on Monday? My son is being harassed by his teachers after what I endured over the summer, and my daughter isn't in school at all because the school board determines her medical care. Well, that was an interesting turn of events because I didn't realize, I would assume that the healthcare would answer to the, well, government, but like I thought that the schools would have to answer to healthcare. Like, this person has this, traumatic issue. This is how their learning should change. And then that happened. And that's not what's happened here. What has happened here is that the police get to determine who gets first aid, and the schools get to determine who learns or who gets medical aid. But as an Indigenous person, we have an agreement that as an Indigenous person, I get access to medical care whenever the fuck I want it. And then as on an Ontarian, I prepay for it. Okay. So what do I do on Monday? So I have a massive malpractice lawsuit against 3 doctors in Ontario. I have a human rights lawsuit against, 3 doctors and several staff of varying degrees in the healthcare and in the Niagara Regional Police and Family and Children's Services of Niagara. And I have this massive fucking slow burn on the school system. So obviously, as a mom, I'm going after the school system. But I need a lawyer. And I was an event manager. I'm a very good, well-respected event manager in my city. And I fell off CERB because our industry crumbled before the pandemic was even called, because we were canceling our events. They were trying to save their deposits. So they were making judgment calls before you acted. So I don't have any money to pay even my rent. So what do? Do I go after the low-hanging fruit, which is the malpractice lawsuit? But then that wastes a bunch of time because I'll get the money from that, and then I'll use that, and I'll take down the school board. Ideally, the fucking government would come to me and be like, oh my God, here's an MRI. How do we fix the school board situation? Because they're running wild. They're running wild. And here's the funny thing. Here's the thing that I can't seem to get to the people in authority because they're all white. We have taken 300 years to evolve to be where you guys were when you got here. It's evolution. So as my DNA is 300 years newer than yours, if you don't have any Indigenous blood in you. And what I'm saying is everybody who's left, who has at least 10% or more, is as smart as me. As fucking smart as me. Because you guys did it first. And we fucking watched you do it. And we learned how you did it. And now we know how to invite your system, because now there's enough of us. We're overpopulating the planet now. Now all you've got are people who aren't white. And if you can just for a second take a look at what I'm saying, and I'm saying that the people who are not white are about tired of the people who are white ruining the planet because they're not smart enough to know that they're on a planet. Like the world is just how the people interact with each other as global. Global and world is like one thing. It just means the people who are on it and how they work together. The planet circles the sun, which is why I know that water is just, I pee at the rate of gravity pulling water down. Like, whatever, it is what it is. I'm really excited to tell you all because, like, I cannot imagine a single fucking world where I didn't just do what I think I just did and I'm talking to somebody important because I'm trying to get medical aid for myself. And then I need to tell you what's happening in the school system because you're about to lose all your teenagers because they're not even going. They don't even want to. And it's descending into madness here at the lower levels of things. And I'm hearing in my head, in my brain, because I'm looking at the situation and how it's repeating itself, and repeating itself, and repeating itself, and repeating itself, because I've just drawn all kinds of, explained it to you why I don't understand why I can prove that the man who stalked me on the internet after giving me lip as a professional member of your government representatives for the school system. Like, nobody seemed to realize as soon as we went from verbal pieces of breaking of the law to written and email pieces of the law that you were begging for it. And I'm trying to help you not lose everybody. Yeah. Because like we see that there's no CERB. We see that Ontario never even opened up again. And we are getting fucking BC's flooded now. It can't even get them. Like, and no CERB, no help for everybody. You're just going to force everybody now because the federal government is tired of paying for it because they don't think they can because they are mishandling our finances. And they're going to make Ontario be the last one with the buck. Because I have to go to Ontario Works. I have to call for an appointment. I don't have money to pay my rent. I have enough for maybe one more month if my husband helps me, but after that, I have to give my notice. I can't afford it. Now, I can't even afford to go home because my balcony, my freaking thing isn't even attached because I'm going to die. So I'm looking out for my own health, but I am pecking off what is most important first. And it's the school system. It needs to stop. It needs to stop right now. This is insane. What they're doing is not working. And what it's creating is a generation of resistors that are smarter than you can even imagine. Okay? This is what I'm trying to indicate to you. I would like your cooperation so that I can help us save the children of the planet. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. But if I die because you're letting the Niagara Regional Police do whatever they want because they hate women in general, I can't help you if I'm dead. Because everything I have already said is available online, is available for you to see, and you can only imagine what will happen if my husband has to announce that I've passed away of kidney failure. What did I say my problem was when I went into the Mount Sinai Hospital? Kidney failure. You know, it's almost like I'm not an idiot and I know exactly how much time I have. And if all I can do before I die of kidney failure very fucking soon because of how much water I'm drinking, you're on your own, really, truly, like really and true, true on your own. If you ever felt that fear before, because I'm not afraid to die, because every day I'm alive, I try to save one person at a time. One person. Every day of my life, I try to save one person. I usually have my buddy Charles popping in here and saying, "Hey, I'm so glad to see you." And I'm like, "Hey, Charles, I love you." And then I got somebody from Brazil in here yesterday. Like, people are seeing me from all over. It's like what I'm saying. I'm speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for everybody because I'm speaking for nobody. I'm speaking for, like, you put in place laws. and then you don't do them. And it's like, well, now I can prove that you're not doing the laws. I've already reached out to the United Nations, because you have to decide if I'm somebody that, like, oh my God, look at all of the misunderstandings that you at the same time. And I'm like, I know so many misunderstandings. And then you can just make sure that I give me my little prescription, maybe complimentary, because I don't have a drug plan, because I don't have a job, because there's no jobs that offer anything anyway. I didn't even have it before. There's insurance is not even a thing here in Ontario, which is good, because you shouldn't be paying for our insurance because there's no doctors anyway. Yeah. Does that make sense? It's fine. You don't need insurance, cancel it, because you don't need anything, but do get good on Google. Really get good at, thinking for yourself. Think critically. And if you need to remove yourself from other people for you to be able to think clearly, and if you are scared, do nothing. Yeah, do nothing. If you don't know what you need to do, do nothing. That is the only thing I can tell you. And now that's how I'm going to be saving people today. Do nothing. If you are scared, do nothing. If you are the government and you are scared, call me though. You need to come and get me, because this is absolutely absurd. This is absolutely unbelievably embarrassing, because I am being seen in Brazil. Somebody told me yesterday, I'm being seen in Brazil. And this is what I have to tell people on the internet, because you don't seem to notice I exist, because I have a woman account, which is why the only thing that matters is YouTube, because I don't even think they ask, to be honest. And if they do ask, I'm sure that they will be me removing that before anybody can double check. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter. So you either like I have everything ready. I've had it ready since fucking June, if I'm being honest. But apparently, there's some danger when it comes to one person ruling everything, especially if that one person doesn't give credit where credit is due, because no one thing on the internet is the only thing on the internet. And it's not the only purpose of the internet. Sorry. Drink my water. I think I might have to pee in a bit, which is great. And then I might even be able to eat. I'm working on it, because I have to go home on Sunday, and I don't want to go home because I don't think it's safe, but it is what it is. I'm not hiding, so I have to go home. And I don't have a computer, and so I'm doing everything from my Chromebook, because it's the only thing I own. And whatever, I will do what I have to do in the means that I have to make sure that children aren't being abused in schools. And they currently are. And I've been trying to get this information to my own government so that they could do something about it for so long that the entire government has allowed every single public service to make an ass of themselves while I'm creating a lawsuit about something else entirely. So if you really want to play games, it's not going to work. I'm telling you my plan, and I'm telling you why. And I've been telling you this whole time. So when when news breaks that locals, if you are freaking anybody, go to your email and search my email, MissyAnnMcMillan@gmail.com. You've probably received a notice from me. If you work for the St. Catharines Standard, you have. If you work for CHCH, you have. If you work for the government of Ontario, you have. If you work for the Ontario government, you have. If you work for Canada, you have. I emailed all of the independents and Jody Raybould and everybody else, because I'm trying to get this problem with the school system figured out, because what to your children in the school system is creating a situation where you have dissenters and not military, and you have suicide rates instead of active participants paying for college. Yeah. You need to get them through high school so they'll pay for college, and pretty much anybody will just pay for it. So if we just change one fucking law and say high school is not mandatory anymore. Okay. This is how we're going to run it now, because we just need to prepare you for what's happening in the planet. We can get them through it, because we can see there was one person who just happened to be smarter than some other people, who just happened to see the problem early, who figured out a way to give somebody the information. And then for some reason, that way seems to be only being seen by a couple people, and they don't like what I'm saying. But I don't care about anything. I only care about what I can do. And I have a child who isn't in school as an Indigenous person. And I have another child who's barely in school due to the abuses he's receiving every day. And if my children are if this is happening to my children, there's 8 spots for therapy school. How many kids do you think were prescribed therapy school last year? Probably many, 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 many. Do you want to hear my idea for therapy school? How we can just redo the whole thing, and we'll just turn school into therapy school because they all need it apparently. And that's just an easier way than doing all this shit that you're expecting teachers to do. And then maybe they'll just stop with the emails. You don't think there's a better way to do this? I don't think there's a better way to train people to be military people. We can do that, but they have to know what is happening. You can't just treat children like idiots because now they're smarter than you think they are. My kid is smart. Oh my God. He told me there was a problem with Gary Bettman at the NHL, and I just took 2 seconds to figure out how to get him fired because no one else seems to know how. And then I told the kids yesterday. And it seems to be nobody understands that every single business is a business. If you're a country, you're a business. If you're a state, you're a business. If you're a team, you're a business. If you whatever name comes on the top of your check, if you receive a check in any way, shape, or form, that's a business transaction, and a business transaction has a contract, and that contract has deliverables from both sides. And as soon as you go through that and you make sure that if shit's not as you got a contract, you can't cancel, that's fine. The NHL came out because the NHL wanted to be an NHL, but we can absolutely just make a new league if they don't want to play nice. It's fine. I don't care. I don't care about any of this shit. These are side projects, but these side projects are what's getting me in trouble. I'm just I'm going to say what I'm going to say, because at the same time, I'm just tap dancing in front of all the kids watching me. And I'm just if I die, because if you look at my shit, I was dying and I'm better now, looking better. I just have to figure out this walking thing and what my body looks like. And that's between me and an MRI machine. And I'm soaking up water with my skin because permeable membrane. And then I taught the kids about the permeable membrane because I happen to be incredibly intelligent no matter what my family thinks I am, because I'm not wrong, right? We have to assume, we have to make some assumptions here. I assume that if I feel like this, everyone feels like this. No, I feel like if I am an Indigenous woman with children in the district school board of Niagara, then I feel this way. If there are many, many people whose children are on wait lists for mental health, and people who teenage children are struggling through the mandatory Ontario secondary school diploma required to go to post-secondary, we cannot pay for education until we finish using up these resources. And these resources are being so mismanaged that children are killing themselves instead of waiting it out to pay for college. That's not a very good investment. That's not a good return on my tax dollars. I want my kids to pay for college. Yeah. Well, I'd like to be able to, that's the only thing I can pay for. I have an RESP, but whatever. So I have to assume if there's one other Indigenous woman with a daughter on a wait list for mental health care in this pandemic, and my situation at home is precarious, or my son is being abused in his school, I have to assume that we're all going to feel a certain way about it. It's all going to be the same. Yeah. And that's just on the school board level. And if I'm saying that it's a systemic issue problem with the software, that it probably could possibly be happening everywhere, right? So if I'm in Ontario and I'm a woman who's Indigenous and my children aren't in school or on wait lists to receive medical aid, I'm going to feel the same way. Like I prepaid for this and we have a treaty to get mental health care is health care. And so the fact that my Indigenous daughter is not in fucking therapy right now is not being receiving our treaty of the Treaty 6. Okay, so we have a treaty to prevent this. And so now we're just pissed off, right? And then we're like, oh my God, we've been doing this forever. And it's like, yeah, now I'm even more pissed off. Okay. So now we're all real pissed off. And how many people do you think this is happening to? Do you think that if I was white or black or a different shade of purple? My dad tells me a story. I was on the bus when I was 2 and we were sitting next to this very deep woman, like a very deep skin toned woman. And I looked at her and I said, why are you purple? Because like to me, she looked purple, I guess. I don't remember it. But like, that's the kind of person I didn't even see black. I saw purple, apparently. And that is the joke of it all. Apparently, Miss Dan is colorblind because I don't see the same thing. I'm like, I don't know what shade of brown I am. I'm just a shade. I'm not white. I'm an off-white. You know what I mean? A shade of something. Depending on how much sun hits me, I can turn between them. I'm anywhere between a bisque and a buff beige, whatever. Because we didn't have to start naming the fucking colors until we had to start buying makeup to cover it up. And then we had to determine what color we were. And until that, we were just people, right? And who brought over the makeup? Whatever, keep it. We love it. Yay, love to see it. But like, if we could just name them something different, that'd be great. But then, like at this point now, you're just like, well, I am a bark. But what color bark are you looking at? You know what I'm saying? It's just out of control now, and I'm tired of it. This is on. Like I've already drank 2 liters of water since I've been sitting here, and I'm drinking my last one. I'm trying to tell you there's a problem with my kidneys and I cannot access a doctor in Ontario. I'm trying to tell you that I am live streaming to tell you my plan so all these kids can understand that like the anger that they're feeling right now is normal. And this anger that they're feeling right now is expected for the situation that's coming at them right now. And I'm on the internet trying to tell them not to riot. Okay, because like any minute something bad is going to happen, and and at the same time I may be dying. I am dying. Everybody's dying. Like it's a thing, but like I have this kidney thing, and so like what if the bad thing that's going to happen to set off everybody, if you're seeing me at all, is my death? Like, do you really want that? Because I'm just trying to get my kids to adulthood alive, and I refuse to leave their friends behind. Yeah, because I'm homeschooling. I've been homeschooling. It's not going particularly well because she shouldn't be homeschooling. But I know as a grown-up, I'm just going to put her in grade 9 next year. I'm going to go to a school. I'm going to be like, I need to register my kid and you can pull their records from here. And I know that the records are going to be right where they friggin' are because they still keep calling me every day. My child has never been back to that school since her emotional, nervous breakdown resulting in a suicide attempt. Did you know that the same exact day that my daughter ended up in a hospital here for a suicide attempt, there were like 17% more overall suicide attempts of serious suicide? That's what they said. They said that the instances of suicidal tendencies had not increased, but that the severity of the attempts had, which means kids who were, doing things for attention before, or not attention, but negative behavior. Like it is for attention. Like notice that I'm sad. You know what I mean? Notice. And then those were not happening anymore, and they were actually attempts on life. So that is different. That is a notable difference, and that is absolutely what I'm trying to stop here. So everybody can think I'm nuts if they want to, but nothing I've just said makes sense, right? And that makes sense. It makes sense that somebody would want to help me at some point. And I don't really understand why not a single person has messaged me. Not a single person. I've gotten no emails back. I feel like my government is hoping that I die because they believe that at this point, it would be easier to quietly settle out of court than have to deal with me in real life. That is what I feel. And that is probably accurate. But they didn't account for me being this angry and fighting for the entire Earth's population of children. Because I don't care if you are under 25, I don't give a shit. Whatever. If we can't have a glass of wine eventually, then we're not even friends and we can just not be friends. But like, I'm here for the kids and that's it. And I don't care about anybody but the kids. And they deserve better. And we did not say that we wanted $1 billion into the car industry. We want health care. That is what we want. That is it. Health care. And in my understanding, we've prepaid for it. And then you sold our hospital. So I would like to know who owns the hospital now and who's in charge of staffing, because I'd like a word. MistyAnnMcMillan@gmail.com. Go ahead. Add me to WhatsApp.